Alright, we are up to video number 3 of the week 8 of humility. So we're going to read today from the Chovos HaLevavos on the 6th section. He has a whole section on humility. So he says like that. Having discussed in the preceding gaze the obligation to devote all our acts to God alone, and since pride in action devoted to God affects the masters of such conduct more swiftly than all other injurious influences and greatly damages these acts, I think that the most important thing now is to follow with the antidote to such pride, and that is humility. Moreover, it is clear to us that humility is the very essence of service. So it's like really one of the roots of serving God in the proper way. It is what keeps a servant from attributes of lordship, meaning like too much honor or kavod, and constitutes an acknowledgement to God that these are uniquely His, to the exclusion of all created things, as David, peace be upon him, said, "Yours, God, is the greatness, the power, the glory, the victory, and the majesty. For all that is in the heaven and on the earth is yours." He says also, "For who in the skies can be compared to God? Who is like God among the heavenly beings?" It also keeps a person from holiness, arrogance, pride, vainglory, domination, the urge to control everything, the desire for what is above him, and similar outgrowth of pride. So he's saying there's one thing that is clearly unique to God, and it's for sure not us to borrow or use. There's something called greatness and kavod and high levels of whatever, of honor and pride. That belongs to God exclusively. Any time there is a feeling of pride, of ego, of honor, of kavod, of greatness, right away my automatic reaction should be, it's God's. That's he's the because they all come from Him. Any glory, any great things in this world come from Him. Therefore, you have to right away, immediately recognize that it's from Him. So any quality about ourselves, any greatness, anything we feel good, any position of greatness, right away I have to know this is from God. And therefore, there's no reason to feel in myself that it belongs to me and I deserve it. It's a gift, like we said, it's a gift, but we have to understand that gift is from Hashem and only given by Hashem. Therefore, the moment I make it my own and not recognize its true source, I become arrogant and disconnected from God. It is now fitting to explain the following 10 points on humility, and that's what he's going to explain in this section. What is humility? 2. Into how many classes it is divided. 3. What induces humility? 4. In which situations should one practice it? 5. What are the methods of acquiring it? 6. The code of conduct to a humble person should follow. 7. When can humility on the part of someone be taken as genuine and when not? So that's a big one. Number 8. Is humility dependent upon the other virtues, or are the other virtues dependent on humility? 9. Can pride and humility coexist within the human heart? And 10. The benefit of humility to one's worldly interest and in the life hereafter, the world Olam Haba. Okay, so we start with the first one. What is humility? Humility is the soul's sense of lowliness, its acquiescence, and its lack of self-importance. Meaning it's the truth of what one really is, and compared to God, we're like microbes. Not even. We're nothing. Even according to, on a scientific level, on a physical level, scientifically, we don't exist. We're so small compared to the universe that it's like we don't exist. And you think that you're great compared to God. God is created, the universe is greater than anything. So we are like nothing, not even nothing. Well, nothing compared to nothing. It's like we don't exist, literally. So it is one of the qualities of the soul, and when internalized, comes to expression externally in the form of gentle speech, a soft voice, meekness when angered, and restraint in taking revenge when one has the power to exact it. So you don't take revenge when you're humble. You don't, even though you have the power to do it. The story doesn't mean that justice shouldn't be made, but you don't take revenge. The story is told of a king before whom a man was sentenced, and a whip was brought for punishment. The king said to the man, "As God lives, were it not for my great anger with you, I would have taken strict vengeance against you." And then he pardoned him. That is, precisely because the king grew angry did he decide not to discipline the man, for he did not think it proper to satisfy anger. It is related further of him that he used to say, "I know of no offense heavy enough to await my meekness." So therefore, Hashem, even if Hashem is angry, or if Hashem would get angry, so to speak, so he won't do it, because you don't do things out of anger, and therefore I'm not going to punish you out of anger. Parents are not supposed to punish their kids out of anger. You're not supposed to speak to someone out of anger. You want to speak, you want to respond. Once again, I'm not going to calm down. I'm not myself. When I'm not angry anymore, I will be able to speak and have a clear judgment. Gemara says when one is angry, we cannot, whatever he said doesn't count. It's not him. Number 2. How many kinds of humility are there? So humility can be divided into 3 classes. I believe the Ramchal also divided into 3. So a lot of things in common. One of these includes human beings and many species of non-rational animals. It is poverty of spirit and passive endurance of injuries that might have been avoided, but were endured because one is ignorant of the ways to avoid them. It is found among foolish and ignorant people, due to their slight knowledge and meek understanding of their own selves and self-worth. So it is called humility by convention only, but in truth it is spiritual poverty and blindness brought on by ignorance that has overcome the soul and prevents it from seeing what is for its own good. As it says, "You have hidden understanding from their hearts, therefore you will not lift them up." So he says that's not the right kind of humility. This is a humility that is for ignorant people. They feel low and they feel a certain way, but it has nothing to do with real humility, because it's a type of humility. You act humble, that's only because you feel so low, and like an animal doesn't feel arrogant because it's just the way he is. He's just acting like that. Humility in the true sense is that quality which comes as a result of the uplifting of the soul, when it has raised itself above any participation in the low qualities of brute creatures, and when, on account of its superior wisdom, nobility of spirit, and clear grasp of good and ignoble qualities, it is beyond imitating the traits of the lower classes. So therefore, that's when true humility comes. Not like we said before. That's true humility, first level. When this is followed by humility of the soul and lowliness, humility is a praiseworthy quality. So it's praiseworthy when I realize who I am really with wisdom, and that I know I'm nothing, because compared to God, everything is, I don't exist basically, everything is a gift. Otherwise, however, it is not counted among the admirable traits and virtues of the soul, but among the reprehensible traits. For a lowly disposition such as this is like that of the beast. So with true humility starts the first level as someone who knows who he is. He knows he's smart. He understands the world. He understands God. Otherwise, it's just like it's not desirable. It's a bad humility. It's something that it's fake. It's like an animal. There's nothing different. So that's the first level, when I know who I am and I know I'm nothing. The second kind of humility is that exhibited by an individual toward other human beings who dominate him, as that of the prisoner in the hands of the enemy, or a slave in his master's power, or like something who works for someone else. Another example of the second kind is the humility of an individual who is dependent on others and is in great need of what they possess. Such is the humility of an employee, so I said this was before, toward his employer, and of a poor person toward his wealthy supporter, and of a student toward his teacher. and of the debtor unable to pay a just debt, who must therefore humble and abase himself before his creditor, as it is written, the borrower is servant to the lender. So, therefore, a person may recognize that he is inadequate in the moral disciplines relevant to this world and the next, and that he is ignorant of the right course. If he then meets the prophet of his generation, or a moral teacher, or one who calls him to the right path, he will be humble and lowly before him, as our master of Lesmori said. In Brachos 7b, it says, attending to the Torah is even greater than studying it. As it says, Elisha ben Shaphat, who poured water on the hands of Eliyahu. It does not say who studied, but who poured. This indicates that attending to the Torah is even greater than studying it. So, because you can learn Torah from someone, but okay, so it's a teacher, but the idea is like it's more in the mind and heart. But actually serving, using your physical body, it makes you even lower. So you understand that someone who is truly humble is someone who, which is the second level of humility, is to realize there are people who are greater than me. And I humble myself by comparing myself to them, understanding that look how much I lack, look how much of a level I am, and how much on another level they are, and enables me to understand that already in this world compared to other people, I'm very low and I'm dependent on them, and I owe them. So then with Hashem we do the same thing. We realize that that we owe so much to Hashem, and that we are like a servant. All those situations, slave, servant, student, enables us to practice what it means to be humble with Hashem. So this kind of humility, though necessary by nature, is not a constant, as it is not relevant to all people and is not necessary at all times. If you're a boss, then you don't experience it, and not in every place. For the prisoner after release from captivity, the slave after he redeems himself, the borrower when he pays his debt, the student when he is not with his teacher, and the poor person when not in the presence of his benefactor, are under no obligation to show humility and lowly submission to their respective former superiors. So that's a level 2, and it's not constant because it only applies when we are with those people. The third kind of humility is humility towards the Creator. So we learn the first 2 levels of humility to reach the third one, which is to be humble towards Hashem. Understand that it's all from Hashem. May He be exalted. It is an obligation that applies to all people at all time and in every place. Meaning the same thing I would behave with my boss at work, or with my someone who is on top of me, basically, who controls me, or my teacher. Then I have to feel that all the time. The consideration of this duty is the purpose of this gate. One who has humility of this kind is called in Scripture humble, self-deprecating, modest, broken, lowly in spirit, broken in spirit, crushed, tender-hearted, shattered in spirit, broken-hearted, and bowed in soul. So we have to broken-hearted. That's actually we say a lot for tefillah. I'm broken-hearted. That means v'lev nishbar. I do it with humility. When we will speak of humility without specifying which kind, we will have in mind only this third kind, which is the highest degree of humility. To one who attains this humility, the way of closeness to God and worthiness to stand before Him is not far off. He will be accepted by the Creator and be pleasing to Him, as it is written, true sacrifice to God is a broken spirit, which means we say humility. A heart broken and crushed, O God, you will not scorn. Okay. Third section. There are 10 circumstances that induce humility and lowliness in an arrogant individual. So all those 10 circumstances is going to teach us how to help us recognize what humility is and how we can help it towards Hashem. Okay, sorry. when he suffers, number one, when he suffers loss of vitality in natural functions due to illness, natural imbalance, or frail constitution, he is humble as a result and supplicates God and human beings, as it says, he humbled their heart through hardship. So, because like we have now in Corona, so we got humbled that everybody started saying, oh, look how God control, how we cannot do anything. The whole world stopped. We're nothing. So that's an example. If I have one of my organs who's shutting down, that's it. I'm gone. So how weak I am, how lowly I am. I have no strength on my own. Number two, when one meets with misfortune or suffers poverty and becomes dependent on others, after not having been previously dependent on them, he is humbled before them, and his spirit is too broken to behave proudly in his sad condition. As it says, and everyone who is left in your house will come to bow low to him for a bit of money and a loaf of bread, and will say, please assign me to one of the priestly duties, that I may eat a bit of bread. So you're poor, you realize, like, are completely dependent on God. And that's why we have to pray to God like a poor person. Tefillah le'oni. Number three, when another person showers him with favor and shows him much kindness, he humbles himself before him, as it says, many court the favor of a generous man, and everyone is the friend of the man who gives. I'm humbled by someone who gives, who is so generous. Wow. Because I'm not like that. I'm receiving from that person, so it humbles me to see someone so kind and so generous, and so humbles me to that I'm not even like that, and I'm the receiver. I should want to be able to be also able to give, but I'm not on the madrega yet, on the level. Number four, one who is in debt to his fellow and is unable to pay it will humble himself before him, as it says, if you do not have with what you to pay, why should he take your bed from under you? Your bed from under you. So, right, you owe something to someone, it makes you feel humble that I owe that person, I'm dependent on that person, it humbles you. Number five, one who is held in captivity by his enemy will be humbled before him and showed and bowed in spirit. As it says, they pressed his feet with fetters, iron was clamped on his soul, and if they are bound in chains, they will be caught in the cords of affliction. So that's easy to understand, right? We're prisoners, we have no, I'm not free without that person. Number six, a slave who cannot redeem himself from bondage to his master will humble himself before him, as it says, behold, as the eyes of slaves unto the hand of their masters, as the eyes of a maid unto the hands of her mistress. Number seven, when a person is beset with troubles and tragedy, his spirit is broken and his heart humble, as it is written, if then their uncircumcised heart is humble and they accept the punishment. One of the things of Corona is, there's a lot of tragedies, is to learn to be humble, to recognize Hashem is in charge, we are not in control of anything. Number eight, when one makes a personal accounting of how he has rebelled against God in return for his kindness and defied him through it, instead of offering praise, he will humble himself and feel embarrassed and ashamed before God, as it says, my God, I am embarrassed and ashamed. Hashem, you give me so much, and I'm misusing your everything you give me. I'm misusing the koach you give me, the soul you give me. It's embarrassing. You give me so much, and I'm not even repaying with kindness. I'm being a good person. Number nine, when the Creator rebukes a person and puts him to shame for rebelling against him, he humbles himself and is frightened, as he said of Achav. Have you observed how Achav was humbled himself before me? So that's like more of a direct connection with God. It's a very high level. And when a man feels that death is approaching and his day is coming, and he thinks of the terror of death and of the final judgment and reckoning, he will feel humbled and bowed, and will think little of himself, and he will regret that his days have passed and that his life is coming to an end without his providing himself with good deeds to precede him, and he sets out on his journey, as it says, sinners in Zion are frightened. So yes, I'm going to die. You gave me so much, and how much did I live in this world? death is close to death. Hashem is going to take me, and it keeps me humble to realize, like, I'm going to have to give an accounting. You gave me $1 million. What Hashem is going to ask, what did you do with the $1 million I gave you? I gave you a soul, a body. What good did you do with that? So we're going to stop here, and we shall continue next time with number 4, step 4, which is in which situation it is a duty to practice humility and lowliness. So something will be more practical. All right. May we all merit to achieve that great trait of humility. Baruch Adonai L'olam. Amen ve'amen.